Hey guys, today on Paul Bart's Garage, kind of be discussing what I discussed in one of the last videos where I was replacing some of these quick disconnects on the heater core on a 2001 Silverado 1500 5.3 four-wheel drive truck I have. If you have to where your truck the heater may not be working right, or you may be smelling radiator fluid, but the inside of your cab is not steaming up on the windows, and you pop the hood and you're looking at your the fittings of the heater core that come out of the from the firewall into the engine. These quick disconnects right here are bad about cracking and breaking off right here. There's actually a tube showed in the last video how it looks like when it's new. These things will crack and break off and leak, and you'll find yourself overheated. It's best, in my opinion, to buy. You can get them at O'Reilly's for about, I think it's like $10. If you got an 01, I think they're like an 05, or a 99, they're like an 05. I think these are the ones you're going to want. Let's see if I can get this out where you can read the part number. This was at O'Reilly's. I think I gave $10 for it. It's 800-409. It's in the help section. I just grabbed two of those. They're going to cost you about a $20 bill, but save you a lot of problems. I got back home and pulled this one off first, which just looks like that's probably the factory one. And I showed you from a previous video that you're going to need this tool here that's right in the help section of O'Reilly's also for about $10. And it'll be the biggest one you'll use. Basically, this slides over the tube from the heater core. It slides over, and this lip here will slide into the back of this back here and go inside there and release it from the heater core tube, and these things just pop right out. And when you get ready to put it back in, the new one that you buy, I usually take some lithium grease and kind of just spray it in here a little bit and around the tube, and it'll just slide and pop right on there. You'll hear it snap when it snaps in there. But the reason I'm making this video is when I replaced the other one and put it all back together, it was leaking. The other one was leaking, and when I pulled the tube off, this is actually what it looked like in there, and it was leaking through here. Had a crack, and they just break off and fall apart. So it's best just to buy both of them, go ahead and replace both of them, and then check your heater hoses to make sure they're still good. It's pretty easy to get them done, or it was for me. I'd never done it before and just watched a couple of videos on YouTube on how to do it, and went to O'Reilly's, bought the parts, and came back. And of course, you need this tool right here. It's right in the help section along the side this part. I showed you the part number. But anyway, I let my son use the truck, and he brought it home and said it was heater wasn't working right and that there was a leak. So I fixed all that, and I noticed when I put it in gear, because he's been towing things and working, doing stuff and things with the truck. It's a four-wheel drive 2001 Z71, as I mentioned before, and you get the old clangy noise when you put it in gear. And I believe it's time for U-joints. So if you go in and buy U-joints at AutoZone or O'Reilly's or Advance, some of them ask you a million questions, whether it's a 2-piece or a 3-piece or a 1-piece shaft aluminum, whether it's a regular cab, extended cab, what size engine it's in, which is an HD truck. In my case, mine is just a single axle or single drive shaft unit. It just requires two. I think it's going to be the rear one. When I was putting it in gear, it's kind of hard to tell when it's just yourself doing it, but it seemed like the popping was coming from the rear one. So for whatever reason, there's two different part numbers. There's one for the rear, it's a different part number, and there's one for the front of the drive shaft, which is a different part number. But when you hold them up to each other, they both look like the same size, which I don't get that, but that's just what they say. We'll see when I get the drive shaft out and go to replace it. But you'll need some grease. I kind of like to grease the inside caps. A lot of you probably done these before. It's like the second or third time I've done this since my early 20s. I'm 48 now. You'll take the caps off and grease them up. If you've ever put them in there, it helps keep these, the beads, if you know what I'm talking about, inside the cap. It keeps them from falling out whenever some people hammer the caps in once they get it in the drive shaft, go to and really install it. They're hammer them in, and sometimes when you're hammering it in, the bead, or let me just pull them out so you see what I'm talking about. Some people may not know, doesn't even know what a drive shaft or a U-joint is, so go ahead and try to one-hand this out. Kind of don't even like taking these caps off, because if you got fat fingers like me and you're trying to put these caps back on with one of these, I'm calling them beads. Let's see, hang on a second, hold on just a second. Anyway, when you're pulling these caps off the U-joint, looks like that in there. And when you're banging these back in, when you're reinstalling the U-joint, those beads are aggravating. If they're not greased, they will fall out. And if you don't get the angle on them just right, when some people bang them in with hammers, one of these beads inside here will fall out and get out of alignment, and it'll bend, and you'll end up having to go get another cap or a whole nother U-joint. And I have before, and I know this is bad, used a good cap off another U-joint after running the newer U-joint. But anyway, you put grease inside here, and it helps hold that together. Hold on, I'm going to slide this back on. But anyway, let's see here. But that's just something that I've dealt with before, and I just put grease in there when I'm doing them myself. I have several ways of doing it. You can use a vise, where you put the drive shaft in the vise and put the caps in. I kind of like to hammer the caps in evenly on both sides. If you've done this before, you know what I'm talking about. If not, then I'm sorry. You're probably going to be like, you asshole, you're half butt doing a video and you're going to be cussing me and screaming at the screen and all that kind of stuff. But those of you who've done them before know what I'm talking about. Some people use a vise where they put it in a vise and turn the vise after kind of hammering both sides of the cap in. And then after doing that, they'll take and put it in the vise and tighten the vise up, and then they'll take a socket and a hammer and finish hammering the caps in the rest of the way, where they can put the pins in there. But I have a ball joint tool, U-joint tool, that I can use to press mine out and press mine in. Thank God. I bought this at, you can get them at Harbor Freight for about $39.99, I think is what I gave for this one. Some of them, they have kits that are even bigger with better fittings, but this is what I'll be using to do mine. And when I decide to do the video, or decide to, replace everything, I'll do another video to where I'm taking them out, putting them in case some people hadn't done them before, not very familiar, which I'm no guru on it myself, but that's just a couple of the projects I got to do. I'm going to probably try to tackle this tomorrow. I finished this up today, so at least we'll have a heater. But one of the things I was making a video on is to kind of discuss, maybe get a discussion going on what people are planning on doing with their project cars through their winter months. Here in Foley, Alabama, where I'm from, which is right close to Gulf Shores in Alabama, which is a real nice, a beach area, vacation area. Around here, we don't have to put our cars in storage for 4 or 5 months during the wintertime. I mean, it rarely does get below freezing here. Hardly ever see any snow here. And so I can drive my project truck, project muscle truck, project 500, whatever you want to call it, all year round. The coldest it's ever going to get here may be, during the daytime, it's 60s and 70s degrees during the wintertime a lot of times. And when the coldest, I've seen it down to, almost 32. I have seen it snow here, but rarely does it ever. And so we're not like a lot of places around here where people have put their muscle car, muscle truck, or classic car in a storage because they don't want to drive it out in the snow and have a wreck and or get salt and stuff and have it rusting years from now. But me, my plans are, because I can drive mine year round, it's just kind of driving around and just kind of we're trying to replace some things that I think in the future will cause me problems, like U-joints. That's one thing that I have on the list to replace after January, after Christmas, is replacing the U-joints and replacing the wheel bearings. Maybe looking at the brakes and replacing those. I know that I'm putting in an electric fan kit with a thermostat in it to cut down on drag. I know that I've got some bolts and stuff that are rusted and that I want to take out, various bolts in the engine on the outside for the accessories that I want to replace and paint. And the wiring, I showed y'all where it is was a 350 TBI engine, 88 model GMC Sierra. Somebody put a 350 Vortec out of like a 98 model truck, 4-bolt main block. When I looked it up, the VIN numbers or the casting numbers on the block, it came out to a 4-bolt main. It's a 350 Vortec. But I plan on changing the intake from that crappy Pro Comp intake to a probably an air gap, Victory. I think it's Eldebrock Victor Jr. air gap or something like that. I've seen that they sell for the Vortec engines. And it's got mid-link heathers on it. I like to put some long tubes on it if it's not too low to put them on there. And I like to put like a set of honeycomb LS6 springs in it with probably a LT4 hot cam in it. And another thing I plan on doing next year is if I'm not rebuilding the transmission in it, which that was a whole another 2 or 3 videos I've done, I'm either going to go with a 350 turbo or a 400 with a stall. But another thing I want to do is it's got 342 gears in it, according to the VIN plate sheet in the glove box. Is buy a true lock kit for it, like a locker rear end or something, because it only pulls one tire most of the time when you're getting on it. But and of course, either primering it up one color and putting some rally stripes back on it, or painting it. I've painted cars before. In a garage, in front yard before, and it came out pretty decently good. I spent $300, which would have cost me about $1,000 or $2,000 to carry it somewhere to have it done. But I'm going to make me a paint booth in my little garage right here, and I just lay some plastic and stuff down, and probably try to paint the truck myself. See how that turns out. I may just primer it first to see if it actually works out. But that's my plans for that truck for next year. Hopefully by the end of the year next year I'll have all this done. I'm going to put me a tack in it, like a little monster tack, and some more gauges. Probably do some interior work, and hopefully get this thing moving along to where I can go to maybe some car shows up here where I'm at. I'm close to Mobile, Alabama. You got Mobile drag strip and you got Atmore drag strip, which around here a lot of them race year round. Which is kind of fun to take you and your son, or if you're married, I'm not married, take your wife and go there and grill out and hang out and stuff. It's just kind of something fun to do. But in my case, I just carry one of my sons, and we go and hang out and have a good time. But that's just kind of something I wanted to finish up on the video I done. I believe it was yesterday, day before, on the heater core. Things to look for and to watch out for, and just talk about what I'm going to do to this 2001 4x4 truck my son's been driving, and just kind of discuss what you may have plans for in 2018, because Christmas being here and you have children or grandchildren, it's just hard to go out and spend money on a project truck when you got Christmas just a couple of weeks away. But anyway, hope everybody's safe. Hope everybody's doing well. And thank you for watching. If you would, hit the like button or hit the dislike button. Subscribe, and I'll have a whole lot more content coming on a couple of other vehicles. I have a couple of buddies that's got some GTOs, and a buddy that's got a 454 SS truck and we're going to be pulling them in here and doing some work on them. And I'm going to get a better camera with a tripod, and try to set up where you can actually see my ugly mug, and actually see the whole process of something. That's one thing that agitates me when you're looking at a video and you're thinking, okay, I'm going to watch this video and figure out how to fix this thing, and then somebody half butt does the video and you're still stuck there with your finger up your butt wondering how you're going to fix it. So anyway, this is another dumb episode of Paul Blark's Garage. I hope something was helpful, and have a good day.